Hello, my name is Jonathan Harris from Worldwide Camera Exchange. It's controversial video time. This is a Nikon F2 from the late 1970s, fully mechanical, fully manual, no meter. This camera, along with other film cameras such as the Leica M4, Leica M4P, Leica M6, and cameras like the Hasselblad 500cm, I think they represent the absolute pinnacle of camera design. I think this is as good as camera design gets for serious photographers. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that's absurd. How can a camera that's 50 years old even be compared to a modern Sony or a modern Nikon or a modern Canon? Well, let me explain. Cameras from the 70s, cameras from the 1980s, they required a degree of skill to operate them. You had to understand about apertures, you had to understand about shutter speeds and focusing and depth of field and all that stuff. You really needed to have a really good and deep understanding of that to get good photographs. As innovation improved these cameras through the 90s, through the millennium, through digital photography, the photographic process gradually moved away from the photographer and to the camera. So the camera started doing more and more. Manual focus lenses became autofocus. Manual exposure mode became automatic exposure modes. They started to wind on for you. Of course, with digital cameras, you could immediately preview what you just photographed. You could see if it was good, you could see if it was bad, you could see if it was indifferent, and that's all fantastic. But the control was moving away from the photographer to the camera, to the point these days with most cameras it's actually difficult to take a bad picture. Now, in many respects, that's a really good thing. It democratizes photography. It allows more people to take photographs. It allows more people to take good photographs. I'm not knocking that for one moment, but what it does do is take some of the joy of photography away from the photographer. And I also think it affects creativity. With these cameras, you have to think about everything. You have to think about shutter speeds, apertures, exposure. You have to think about every step of the process, and that slows the process down. And in my view, that does lead to improved photography. That leads to improved creativity. And that, I think, to some degree has been lost with the innovation. I would argue that camera design got better and better and better and better up until about this point, and then it really went sideways. It gave the photographers more, it made it easier for the photographers, but it also took control away from the photographer, which I think is a really negative thing. So if you have an opportunity, if you can borrow one, go and try one of these for a weekend. I'm not suggesting for one moment you ditch all your digital stuff and you put all your money into film. Of course, that would be absolutely absurd. But it's definitely worth trying out film, and it's worth trying to rediscover the real joy of photography that people had back in the 80s, where you really had to understand every point of the process. And by understanding every point of the process, I'm absolutely convinced you get better pictures. If you've got any comments, please stick them in the boxes below. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that are going to disagree with me. Otherwise, please subscribe and like, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Bye bye.